Hello everyone and welcome to Crypto Night, the crypto investor channel. I'm Boris, so let's dive in. I'm with Colton today. Hello Colton.
Hey Boris, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to. So let's dive into Hbar, Boris. My first question for you today, what is Hbar and can you kind of dive into what the project is?
Okay, so Hbar, it's considered a layer 1, but it could almost be considered actually a layer 0. And it uses a proof of stake consensus. So it is using what they call the consensus algorithm, Hashgraph, which is where the name come from. And it's an asynchronous Byzantine Fault Tolerant. So we've covered that with Phantom the other day. It's a little bit the same story. They do it in a async mode, which means that everything is not running one after another, but more like running all at the same time. And the Byzantine Fault Tolerant, it's allowing the if a third of the nodes are faulty, the blockchain still runs, everything is still running. So what they're trying to do is having a fast network, which usually proof of work are not extremely fast. They have low transactions per second, and they have high latency, and Hbar is trying to fix all that. And they really have some good numbers to show. They are capable of doing 10,000 transactions per second. The cost is extremely low. It's a fraction of a cent. On average, 3 to 5 seconds to do a transaction confirmation. And they use extremely low energy compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, literally a fraction. They even claim on their site that they are carbon negative. That's, a little bit what they do. And they really have two core network services. They have HCS, which is the consensus service, and they have HTS, which is the Hedera token service. So one is used more for consensus timestamping and ordering and running things almost like off-chain. And then the other one is for more the stuff that are on-chain. And doing token controls, managing the supply, the KYC compliance, stuff like that. Once again, they have some really low transaction fees. They also offer network security via staking. You have nodes and you can influence the consensus timestamps. You can also have incentives for security, for nodes that are protecting the whole network, and they do daily rewards payments on the number of transactions that was validated during the day. So that's a little bit who they are in a nutshell.
Gotcha. I appreciate all that information, Boris. Can we kind of change pace here, and can you kind of talk a little bit about their history and their, performance during, their history?
Yes. So Dr. Lyman Baird is actually a former professor of computer science for the US Air Force. He's the one who invented the Hashgraph, which is that distributed consensus algorithm that is really at the heart of Hedera. So in 2015, he co-founded a corporation that, basically invented the whole thing. And then in 2017, he co-founded Hedera Hashgraph after they lined up a whole management team and they got some investors to come in. In 2018, the company was publicly launched, with a big live audience, 50,000 live stream viewers. And so that's it. The project basically took off from there. And so since 2018, they've been developing their whole thing. In 2019, they launched the mainnet, And at that point, it was decided that they would do 50 billion Hbar that would be minted. And they're only distributing those, at a certain pace. Now, what's interesting to note is they have a big governing council, and in it, you have some really big names: Boeing, Dutch Telecom, DLA Piper, who's like the third largest law firm in the world, Google, IBM, LG. The list goes on and on. Tata Communications. It's really A-list type people. The difference is that's where Hashgraph is a little different. Instead of a secured public cryptocurrency based on blockchain, they are more based on the strength and weakness of the open ledger and the Hbar currency. So they operate slightly different than most other. They have basically their own technology. And the thing is, the source code is really available to anyone. It's publicly available, but it's patented. So there are patents on all their technology, so no one else can use it, basically. But it's open. The source code is open so that people can verify, what's in it and how does it operate. So the way they operate for the dApps, is they run on the Hashgraph network, and they're paying transaction fees and other charges to Hedera. And Hedera mainnet already handles more than 4.5 million transactions per day. So they're already running quite a few transactions. I'm not aware of any time that they were down, and if anyone knows anything different, maybe they can put a comment in the comment section. But I've never heard of them ever going down, which is good, because we've seen some other networks, some other blockchains going down when volumes get too high. And then on the tokenomics, they raised 124 million when they started selling their coins. And right now, the max outstanding supply is 50 billion. And currently, it's allocated in the following thing. It's 32% on the treasury of Hedera. The ecosystem development has 24%, purchase agreement 17%. Founders and executives, they have about almost 14%, which is good when the founders don't have too much. You don't want a bunch of founders having like 70% and then they can dump at any time, and it's dangerous for the price. And then the employees and service providers also have about 4.5%. No more than 34% of the total Hbar is expected to be released until 2025. So except for what was released at first and all that kind of stuff, they are really just not going to release more than 34% more between now and 2025. So on the prices, really the important information, they have 1.2 billion is their market cap. And of course, it's come down with the whole market going down lately. Their all-time high was 56 cents, and that was on September 15th, 2021. And currently, the cycle low that was just yesterday, November 9th, it's 4 cents was the bottom in this cycle. And over the next 10 years, they're going to be they'll be reaching 47 billion tokens released. And then by 2050, the entire supplies would have been released. The whole 50 billion.
Sure.
Last thing important to note is that the Crypto Governing Council, they gave Hedera a 3.75 out of 5 score, which is fairly good. and they're the one who usually assess, security and the development and all the different characteristic of a crypto. So they gave Hedera a pretty good score.
Awesome. Thank you, Boris. I appreciate all that information. Can we kind of talk now? You discussed everything here, in the past. Can we kind of move to now and what's coming in the future with Hedera?
Yes. So ABRDN PLC, they are a global investment company. And just to give you an idea, they're worth about 500 billion. They have 500 billion in assets under management. And they decided to make Hedera the technology of choice for investment fund tokenization. So that's the thing that they're looking to do, is tokenize assets. And Hedera is their choice for them to do that. When you tokenize assets, it's whenever, if you take, let's say, a stock, or if you take a house, and instead of selling it for a price, like, okay, this house is worth $1 million. Maybe if you have a token that was worth, to make it easy, $1, well, you say it's not worth $1 million anymore. It's worth 1 million token. And therefore, if you want to sell those tokens that represent that house, you can sell it to even 1 million people. And each one bought $1's worth of that house. So it allows for very expensive items to allow more people to get in and purchase it. Maybe for houses, not necessarily very practical, but definitely for, let's say, a painting. A Picasso would cost so much money. I mean, a Picasso could go literally for over $100 million. So not everybody can buy a Picasso. But what could happen is, maybe 10 million people could buy one Picasso altogether by putting $10 each, and you would own part of that asset. So that's where there's going to be a lot of it. That's all part of the whole Web3 thing, where blockchains enters the web and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to see more and more things like this, where things get tokenized. So that's one of the big news, just came out about a month ago. And then AMB Crypto, that was even more recent, on October 30th. They're looking into, they're growing by leaps and bounds, and it's mainly with the NFT. They have a collection called Hungry Baboons. And it's been progressing quite rapidly. Now, even though the growth is very, very fast, the problem is Hedera is still pretty small in the NFT world. But we might see some evolution on that side. So, the thing is, at this particular time, they only represent, Hbar really represents 0.16% of the entire crypto market. So they're still a small player. And if we look at their current ranking, they're ranking number 39, which is not too bad. And once again, me personally, that's where I like sometimes those ranking, because I don't want to be too low. I don't want to be past 100 or even 150. And I don't want to be too high either on some projects, because even though Bitcoin and Ethereum are safer because they're number 1 and 2, the problem is the return is always going to be lower whenever there is a bull run. So number 39, like Hbar, could have more potential to have a bigger multiplier during the next bull run. Another thing that's interesting is there's a project called Flasco NFT, and they're doing NFTs of very expensive spirits, wines and spirits. And they're doing a few other things. And they've been grabbing some attention, mainly from Hbar and Tron users. So there's been a lot of purchase, and it's in fashion. It's one of those things that's in fashion. So it's using Hbar, it's using Tron. And we've seen some big volumes all of a sudden. But in a way, it was the hype when it came out. So suddenly we saw the volume on Hbar going up, to 150 million on October 21st. And then by the next day, that Flasco NFT thing platform, I guess the sales were done. So Hbar went back down to 32 million on the next day, in Hbar traffic, So it's funny how you see a project like this giving you a huge spike because suddenly everybody's like, oh, I want to get in. And because they're using Hbar, suddenly it raises their traffic tremendously. So that's, some of the latest news and development with Hbar.
No, I appreciate all that information, Boris. Can we now discuss, can you stake Hbar, and can you give us, some helpful tips and tricks where we should be staking Hbar?
Sure. So one thing that's nice with Hbar, one, they don't have a minimum amount that need to be staked. Second, there's no bonding, no slashing, no lockup periods. So that's usually pretty cool. The only thing they say is you have a minimum staking of 24 hours to get rewards, which seems pretty reasonable. But otherwise, your coins are not locked in, or there is no unlocking periods and all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that's nice. The other thing that they have that's kind of a little unique is they have indirect staking. And basically, it's a little bit like it's rebalancing between the nodes. I guess they put some kind of that mechanism to avoid having nodes that are too heavy on the whole network, where you have one node that represents 97% of all the voting power and the others have virtually none. So they do kind of a rebalancing between the nodes. The other thing that's interesting to note is that they have a whole system of vote that's based on the number of nodes on the network and redivided by the number of tokens. And so there is a kind of a max value also. Once again, they're trying to avoid having nodes being too powerful and having an attack like we've seen on some of the other blockchains, where someone is able to grab a gigantic share of and a node and having a gigantic voting share, and they can almost vote something that's totally outrageous, but because they have more than 50%, they can do it. So I think they're trying to put all those mechanisms in place to make sure that no one could ever try to do something funky on the whole network. The other thing is they voted something so that the council voted that 6.5% annual reward would be the max rate you could get as a reward for staking. So, 6.5 is what you can expect. They're compatible, and you can stake directly, with them using one of your wallets, whether it is Trust or Atomic or Exodus, pretty much all the big wallets out there. And also, of course, you can use your Ledger key if you have your Hbar on Ledger. Last thing is, of course, you can stake on some of the exchanges, but what we saw with FTX, what happened with FTX and this whole debacle, I think right now it's not a great idea to stake on any exchange. I mean, even Binance, who's the biggest one, there is always a risk. I mean, I don't think anyone expected FTX to go down this fast, this bad. So even though there are no signs whatsoever that Binance is in any danger, or Get.io, or Coinbase, or KuCoin, or whoever, still staking on those exchanges is very dangerous. And why would you want to take the risk of staking on Binance or on another exchange when you can so easily stake from a much safer hot wallet, or even better, a ledger key, a cold wallet, and not have to worry about ever losing your coins? I think at this point, it's probably laziness. Some people, it's just the easy way, the easy road, like, I bought them on the exchange. Oh, they offer staking. Let me just stake there. It takes 2 seconds, as opposed to, oh, now I have to transfer them to my ledger key, and then I have to connect my ledger key to the project and then stake them. You're talking about a difference of maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But that 15 minutes could represent the difference between you losing everything or you being completely safe and at least not having to worry about an exchange going down. So
yes,
please make the effort, spend a little time. It's not that complicated. And at least if the exchange goes down, you don't lose anything, and your funds don't get locked up.
And just to add to that, Boris, there are step-by-step YouTube videos to help you. It's not rocket science, like Boris said. There are step-by-step tutorials to get you set up and ready to go. So, like Boris said, take that extra time. But, my last question for you today, Boris, and the question that everyone likes is, can you give us a price prediction and, let us know what you think Hbar is going to do in the future?
Yeah. Hbar has some good potential. One that's Kevin O'Leary, that people might know because is Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. He's came out several times saying that he had put money in Hbar, that he liked the project a lot. And like I sometimes say, it's always interesting to look where the smart money puts their money to work, because there are high chances of them being a better investor than you are. So that's, I think, a very positive thing. Now, that doesn't mean you have to follow blindly what people say, but it's always a good indication on the project if it's good or if it's got potential. So currently, we're sitting at a price of 4.9 cents. Let me refresh. Oh, 5 cents. We just crossed 5 cents, which is good. So 5 cents, and potentially by next year, we could reach around, let's say, 11 cents. Depending on who you follow and the different price predictions, some of them go as high as, let's say, 14 cents, but let's be a little conservative. I think 11 cents is good. So basically a 2x by most likely the middle or end of next year. Obviously, the first 6 months are probably still going to be a little rough, the first 6 months of 2023. Then by 2025, we can expect being around 20 to 22 cents roughly, so double again. By 2027, we should be getting closer to 40 to 50 cents. So that's a 10x from here. And then by 2030, well, we could be along the lines of about $1.15. Now, they have a maximum prediction of $1.56. Maybe that's a little rich. Once again, we get some comments from people saying like, oh, your prediction is very low. It's going to do much better in the next bull market. Well, if it does, then great. But I'd much rather place my bets and be conservative than to start imagining some crazy numbers and thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do 100x, 200x, or some crazy numbers. Let's be a little bit more conservative. That is, like a 23x from here. So it's still a pretty good return, but once again, it's by 2030. I think most people that get disappointed in crypto is they were told by some friends or some people they know that, hey, you put in your money on Monday and by Thursday, you're already a multimillionaire. And it's just not that true. it's not going to happen. But Hbar, good potential. I bought some. I think it's a good potential, but once again, be careful. It's very risky. Like any crypto, chances are you could lose it all. You could lose all your money. So always have that mindset. And the reason why you want to diversify and bet on a few of them, which is what I do. I bet on, let's say, I bet maybe on like 20 of them, but really only 7, 8 of them really represent the majority of what I invested. The other one, they are very, very small bets. Mm-hmm. But I go on 8 of them in case 2 or 3 of them, or maybe half of them, just go bankrupt or disappear or whatever. The 4 others, if they do, 10, 15, 20x over the next 7 years, I'm still making a lot more money than if I'd done nothing and left my money on the bank account. But always have the mindset that you could lose it all. You could bet on 8 projects, they all go belly up, and you lose everything. And it's always possible. And there are other dangers, with crypto. If you lose your keys, if you misplace your keys, if you leave your money on an exchange and then they go belly up, etc., etc. Be extremely aware that entering crypto is not for everyone, and it is a dangerous game that you have to be very careful with.
From my side, Boris, that's all I have for today, but please feel free to add anything else, but I appreciate all the information.
That's it. So thank you everyone for watching, and we look forward to see you on the next Crypto Night video. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.